Welcome to ASAP Elite. I'm your host, Coach Ben, along with the world's greatest co-host, Professor Haas. Today's guest is the model of achievement, success, and perseverance. From undrafted free agent to 15-year NFL career, All-Pro, two-time Pro Bowler, and three-time Buffalo Bills Walter Payton Man of the Year representative. Please welcome Oakland, California's own Mr. One Man Gang, Lorenzo Alexander.
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
Nothing much, man. I had to summarize it, man. I could have went on with your accolades forever, but we only got an hour.
You took up the whole show with him.
No, I appreciate that, but at the end of the day, my nickname was One Man Gang, but it's actually One Man's Gang, and what I mean in that is that I had a lot of people help me along my path to be able to achieve some of those accolades that obviously my name are on, but it wasn't just me achieving those things. From my mom to my uncle to countless teammates and coaches that really poured their time into me over the course of my career, and still today really allowed me to be the man I am, to be in a position to even talk about being a Pro Bowler or a Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. And so they deserve just as much credit as I do.
Yeah, hey man, that's valiant and it's the truth. But you also played all the positions on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, it was part of it though, right? As you said, I was undrafted. I was on practice squad for 2 years, and I was just trying to find an opportunity to get into the league, and it was, any means necessary. And as part of being on practice squad, I had to give a look team to the offense, to the defense, and to the special teams units, as being a guy that was there to practice and not play. And so through that, birthed that ability to kind of move from position to position, playing tackle on the offensive side, or guard on the offensive side, defensive tackle on the defensive side, playing some defensive ends, some special teams. And coaches noticed that in practice, right? That's where I was actually excelling when I was going against the first team guys. I was competing against guys like Andre Carter, Cornelius Bennett, Julius Peppers, Sean Taylor, the late great Sean Taylor in practices. So I was going against some of the best in the business when I was given a look. And so they saw some ability there, and found the opportunity to kind of cultivate my ability to be a jack of all trades and master of some, as I like to put it. People say master of none, but I was a master of a couple of things.
Yeah, for sure.
And really do that. I was probably one of the first guys to play that XO position, tight end, bringing in for the run game, running down at 295 at one time in my life on kickoffs as a big D tackle. And so I just had a lot of fun being able to move around. And I think because I did some of that in high school, obviously doing it in the NFL level on the practice side, but it allowed me to see the game from different vantage points that all culminated into me having, success in times where people normally don't have it. And I mean, when I turned, 33, 34, 35, 36, because I had developed this football IQ, right. I was still able to make plays that maybe I had lost a step, maybe. I'll say I didn't, but that's what the thing is. You lose a step when you get older. I was still able to be very effective because I was smart. I knew where to go. I knew what the linemen were trying to do to me. I knew what the quarterback's checks were, right? I understand how offense attacks defenses. And so I was able to put myself in a position, much like what I learned from my man, London Fletcher, who did it even before I did.
That's right.
You can elongate your career by using your mind just as much as your body.
Definitely. Hey, I'm just going to add to that, and say it for you, that's how they do it in the Bay.
Yeah.
Man, we also left out, Pro Bowl defensive MVP.
Yeah, and that was cool. And that happened at the back end of my career, right? It was 2016. I don't know. I might have been like 35. Yeah. And I had been written off as a journeyman in a disrespectful way. I think it's cool to be a journeyman because that means somebody wants you, right? You possess some type of qualities that a team says, oh, he can come and help me. So I had been to Arizona. I got hurt there, but I was in Arizona, went to Oakland, and then I had ended up in Buffalo within like a 3-year period. And so I was still getting opportunities to play, but media put it at journeyman like he can't stick. He doesn't have the ability to play. But I finally got an opportunity, right? And I think we all will get opportunities at some point in our lives. And I used to have a coach, Danny Smith, used to say this: when you get your opportunity, what type of exposure is it going to be? Is it going to be negative or positive, right? Because at some point, whether it's injury or coach just wants to try you out, or it's your time to step up because they traded a player away, or this even happens in the workforce, right? As you get promoted or somebody doesn't show up and now you have to fill in for them. Have you prepared yourself to now take advantage of that situation? And because I used to go sit in like special teams meetings when I didn't have to, I would stay out early or come out early, stay late, do some extra stuff and work on my skill set. When I finally got my opportunity in really 2016, with all those work I had done the prior 10 years of my career, led to that moment of not only playing special teams, but then playing defense and being a starter and going out there and have 12 and a half sacks, going to the Pro Bowl. And I only know how to play football one way, right? Like I said, I was around Sean Taylor. Yeah. Sean Taylor's greatest play in the Pro Bowl, he smacks
the punter.
The punter, right? Brian Mormon, who actually I end up knowing because he plays in Buffalo or played in Buffalo. So I've got to meet him. And that was S-Dot, Sean Taylor for you. That's how he practiced. That's how he lived. That's how he played. And he didn't care if it was a exhibition game or it was a Super Bowl. He approached it the same way. And because I was around that, I adopted. I said, man, that's greatness right there. I want to be like that. I want to adopt that attribute in my game. And so when I was in the Pro Bowl, really both times, I was out there flying around, making plays. It's a football game. I got pads on. I'm not out here to look good and dance and do that. I'm trying to make some plays. And I got me a car out of it while I was going about my business. So it was just a cool experience.
You control how your character is perceived.
Yeah,
definitely. And you control that how that exposure is perceived also.
Well, and then also you're the personification, right, of success being a formula where opportunity meets preparation.
Right.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You were prepared, and you know, Coach Penn, you'll appreciate this one. You know, Eminem says you only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow, and you ain't missing.
Yeah, I mean, and that song came out in the prime. You know, I was in college, so yeah, I mean, I really relate to that.
Me too.
You don't necessarily get a second chance, especially in high stressful environments like the NFL, right? You may get one shot and you don't prove yourself.
That's right. We
the next, because it's such a plethora of guys that are trying to get into such a finite space that you don't have time to really make mistakes, especially if you come in, you know, from the bottom, right? You have guys that are drafted and first rounders, and their leash to make mistakes and grow is a lot longer. But because the team has invested in them, right? It always comes back down to the money. Where's the money at?
That's right.
And so if a team hasn't invested in you, if nobody has any reason to back you, your opportunity may be just that one time. And to your point, what have you done to take the most advantage of it? And that's really, it's not what I did in that 6 months or those 5 years. It's really the culmination of everything I've done to take advantage of that. And that's why I try to tell young people, don't wait till you in high school and to college to be intentional about building your process, right? You know, how you work out, how you train, how you rehab, how do you work at school? Don't wait until later in the life to where you're dependent on it, right? When you are out of the house and now you're responsible for trying to figure out how to pay the bills and live a life that you want to live. Develop that as early as possible. And obviously you have to have relationships in order to do that, because you don't know how to do that. You don't come out the womb understanding what to do and how to properly do it. And that's why, like I said, when I got on here, my accolades are just as attributed to the people that were in my life, to, like I said, London Fletcher, Kyle Williams, Larry Fitzgerald, my mom, my uncle, the countless coaches, right? Because they were showing me the structure, the process. And I didn't take everything they gave me, but I took a few things. Let me take a little bit of this, a little bit of that over there, got me a little smorgasbord. Let me make my own little meal like we all grew up doing. Hey, I don't got no milk, but I'm gonna use a little water here. I got some meat, some cheese. Hey, I'm gonna make a little bowl of something, and I'm gonna make it my own, and then I'm gonna go and use that based on the gift that God has given me. Right? So that's what I was doing.
Hold that information, and it's gonna come a time in this interview where that's gonna double back.
All right.
Well, and I know we're gonna touch on this a little bit more throughout the interview. But one of the things that you mentioned that really stood out to me, and it always stands out to me when I hear this story about one of our guests, right? You talked about the fact that you were on the practice squad, right? First, you were undrafted and you were on the practice squad. And there's a certain mentality that you have to have in order to go from the practice squad, being undrafted, to being where you are. Because first and foremost, even get to the practice squad, you have to be a baller in college.
You got to be a baller. Yeah,
you got to be a baller in college. And so you go from being a baller in college, being one of the men, you know what I'm saying, in college, and then to the NFL. Now you're this guy who's playing this role and preparing for your one shot.
Yeah. And that's actually probably the hardest transition for guys. And, it kind of arranged. You go from being, as you say, the man, the guy, making all the plays, people looking at you, praising you, right? And that's how, if you make it to the NFL, that's majority of how your amateur sports life look like, right? You have these diamonds and cats that come up that were nobody knew, and they, blossom late, but that's not the majority of guys' stories that make it to the league. They've been the parade All-Americans. They've been the top guys since they was 5 and 6. And you can actually see it. Like, this dude gonna be something as long as he's able to, do everything right and not have any significant holes that they fall into, depending on what type of community that you grow up in. And so that shift of being that guy, and this is why a lot of guys, because you have it again, if you make it to the NFL, when you transition out of the league, of people no longer singing your praise, right? You are now almost seen as like this second class athlete in a lot of ways. Like, you here, but you just a body, man. I think you can do something, but I really don't. It really doesn't matter if you do or not.
Right.
And so you have to endure that. And that's a hard mental shift. I mean, I tell people this all the time, that I used to get tension headaches from the stress and the anxiety of, am I going to be here tomorrow? I want to play in the NFL, and I'm out here grinding. And it could be, people say politics, a coach may not like you, which is true, or I may make a mistake, or I may hit the wrong guy because I'm trying to out here play. You hit a quarterback or running back, especially when I first got in the league, or if you was on the ground for whatever reason, somebody tripped and let's say somebody hurt their wrist, that was the star player, you are out of there, And so all of these things that are on top of you trying to achieve your dream, all these other variables that you have to play with. And I didn't know how to deal with it from a mental standpoint. And I really used to have stress headaches, migraines, and just because of all that kind of building up. And it wasn't until I got with my man, Chris Draft, that really kind of helped me talk. And he was another linebacker, older guy. He went to Stanford. I'm a Cal guy. So I love him, but I hate him at the same time. Chris Draft, but big brother, always there, always speaking life. He's like, so man, you cannot worry about things that you cannot control, man. All you got to worry about is you and how are you preparing every single day. And as long as you are doing everything to maximize your opportunity right now, that's what you lie your hat on, right? And once I made that mental shift in my mind of not worrying about how many tackles they had, or if this coach liked me, or ooh, am I going to fall on the ground today? Or am I going to, if I stop worrying about that, let me just go out here and play ball. I was able to stop. Well, first of all, the headache stopped. And then I was able to go out there and really be free and play free. And we all know when you're in that type of environment and mental space, you do things a lot more because you're no longer thinking about it. It just becomes natural and you allow your full self to be shared as far as your athletic talent, how you see the game, and then go out there and make plays. And because of that, I was then able to start the process of truly being able to kind of build steps to becoming an active player, not just a practice squad player.
Hey, Lorenzo, you're first of all, you are the epitome of achievement, success, and perseverance, like I said in the introduction, which is our acronym.
Yeah.
You wear it well. Second of all, you are answering all my questions.
Yeah, I'm just trying to give it to you, man.
Hey, listen,
I'm just.
You are the acronym. When your life was the acronym, it's easy to answer all the questions. Yeah,
right.
It's a perfect fit, right?
Right.
Let's see. So we have the honor of introducing the world to how brilliant of a man Lorenzo Alexander is. That's definitely, man, an honor for me to do that, where it's not as much about your football career, but your philanthropy and your addition to society. So we thank you. But one thing, like I said, that you have been an advocate for is the mental strength and focus, the personal growth mindset, embracing the idea that challenges are meant and overcome every opportunity, whether positive or negative. You just explained how having that and developing that mindset aided in your career. How has that helped you after you retired?
Right. I mean, it's really been the same process. You making the shift, and what I have had to try to do for me, and I got a long runway to do this. Right. I played 15 years in the NFL, where most guys, the average is 3.
Boy.
Most guys leave the game because they're not, or deemed not good enough. Right.
Yeah.
Get hurt or too expensive, and so a lot of times it's not on their own accord. And I was blessed enough to have a runway and kind of identify who I was. Now I don't want to say outside the game of football, because football is a huge, significant part of who I am, but it's not the core of who I am. It's not my essence, right? It's something as a vehicle that I was able to share with people because God blessed me with certain abilities and attributes. And through having that platform, I was able to meet people, build great relationships. And so as I transitioned, I've actually had a lot more opportunities to do things because I never saw myself as a football player. That was a part of who I was and what I did. And I try to portray myself as that, as I'm more than, right? And you see that now with this athlete and type of campaign, because we are more than that. It's just a sliver of what I do. And when I relate to people, people have seen me in a different light. And so my relationships haven't been built on me being a football player. Mm-hmm. And so I've been able to maintain those as I transition. So when people generally, base who they are, find their identity in what they do, when you no longer do that, you're searching for who you are. And people don't know how to relate to you because they think you no longer are that thing, right?
Yep.
And so I've always tried to center myself, 2008, ever since this moment, and it was sparked by Sean Taylor's murder, mm-hmm. of developing a intimate spiritual relationship with Christ and who he is. And what does that life look like on a day-to-day basis? And for me, having that at my core and be able to share that spirit with people, my hope is that they identify that spirit, right? And they see, like, football is fruit that's falling off, right? My marriage with my wife, that's fruit that's falling off. My kids, and what I'm building there, that's fruit. My philanthropy work, that's fruit. But who I am is I'm a son of God. And my relationship with Christ is what you see and how you identify me. And so I'm going to be that all the time because I don't make any plans of moving away from him at all,
Definitely.
And I know I've been saved and redeemed because of what he did on the cross. And so I'm trying to walk with him every single day. And so that's how I want people to identify me and see me. And hopefully through my actions and the way I speak and the way I treat people, they have seen that. And I think that is the ultimate reason why I've been able to transition well wherever I go and whatever I do, because that's how people identify me. They see that. And we all know, we've all been around people. I had people like that. And when I was in Washington, Antoine Randall, Ronaldo Wynn, James mm-hmm. Thrash, and you get next to these dudes and you're like, man, what does this dude got? It's nothing about football player, nothing.
You got the light.
I want to hang out with him. I want to be around him.
Got the light.
So again, I saw people model that. I was mentored, right? And I adopted that for my own, made it my own by humbling myself and dying to myself and giving myself to Christ, so that I could be too attached to that same type of family. And so I think that's ultimately why I've been able to transition at different points in my life, overcome certain type of things. And then as I walk away from football, where that's not my identity, people still identify with me because I still allow the spirit to work through me.
Yeah, definitely, man. People, like I said, people saw you, man, for 15 years, man. Chase down quarterbacks. I saw a clip of you chase down Kaepernick last night.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. But like I say, you were even more, if not more, you even more valuable, to mankind. Like I said, with your brilliance and your light, and just wait till they get a chance to see you, man, and how many lives you can change now. Neuro-linguistic programming, which is the method of mindset and personal development through promoting skills such as self-reflection, confidence, and communication.
Yep.
What are the benefits one would attain from becoming efficient in this practice?
Well, you just learn to impact others better, right? When you talk about communication, I mean, that's all the locker room is. I mean, it's like sitting in a barbershop. You can talk all day, and if you're able to interject and be able to relate to people and communicate, you can often share a lot of things with them without even being intentional about doing it, in a real smooth type of way. And so one of the things, as I said, I want to be able to share who Christ is in my life and some of the lessons that I've learned without coming across as this preacher or I'm better than and do it my way, right? And so I have learned over the time, and I've really, like I said, 15 years in the league, you see good examples and you see some bad examples, and you're like, man, I don't want to do it like that. I don't know why this dude talking to me like I'm his son. I'm a grown man too. And so I've learned how to relate and talk through my experiences of good examples, bad examples, trial and error, because I haven't always done it well either. And then each year continue to grow and try to help impact other people so that they can fast track, their lives, maybe skip over a couple of hurdles that I had, or, maybe following the same footsteps that I did. And then I think my actions and what I did on the field and stuff validated a lot of it, because what guys will watch, and I would say on and off the field, you can say a lot of stuff. And I was just doing this other interview, but I can show you better than I can tell you. So as important as it is to lay that seed verbally and through communicating, in the locker room or, with your kids or whatever, they're watching how you operate even more, because they want to make sure that you validate yourself, that you 100, right? That you real, you all facts, all the words the kids use these days, right? Sure. Just to make sure that you're not this dude that's saying one thing and doing another. And so
I think they say like no cap too.
Yeah, there you go, no cap.
I think they say like no cap too.
Yeah, there you go. No cap. That's what I was looking for. No cap. Right? Yeah. All caps, whatever it is now, right? Well, they keep switching it up on me too quick. I'm not in the locker room anymore, so I've kind of missed out on staying on. My daughter was saying something the other day, and I was like, that's not how you say. That's not what they were saying in 19, but now they've shifted to using cap differently now. It shifted quick on you. So that was one of the benefits in the locker room, right?
Yeah, they don't give like a public service announcement.
Yeah, I got a 13-year-old, and so the words that I think I can use cap pretty well.
Yeah,
smoke. You know what I'm saying? Now the new one they got me, and he's like, oh yeah, this slaps.
Oh, we were saying slaps.
So look, is that good? Yeah, right. No, that's okay. All right, it's slaps.
Yeah, we have slaps. Yeah, I've had that one. That's slapping right there.
That's hella.
Yeah, hella. Yeah, hella. It's hella slapping.
Hella slapping. So, like I say, let's go into the inner city now. That younger Lorenzo Alexander.
Yeah.
Where teens may lack resources and necessary building blocks for mindset development, which experts consider to be self-confidence, aka self-esteem. What are ways mentors can initiate reprogramming that?
Wow, I mean that's really hard right there. I mean, fortunately for me, and I'll just go off of my own experience and how I try to replicate, what you said. It's all about building. Again, it comes back to relationships, because you're not going to be able to speak to somebody's life without having a relationship in a sense of trust between you and that individual. And then it also has to be consistent, right? And so something that I've tried to shift in, even from my organization and my foundation, it's cool for me to show up. Yeah, I'm about to say, it's cool for me to show up and talk to some kids and provide some life skills, right? Like this podcast will be a set of setting the seed, and maybe somebody hears it. Uh-huh. But then at the end of the day, they go back to their reality, right? And to their normal environment. Mm-hmm. And what I said doesn't carry as much weight, because it's being overshadowed, it's being eaten by their reality and maybe the negativity that's in their life. And so as a mentor, you have to first establish a connection, a relationship, right? You have to build that trust, and then it has to be consistently driven into that child or that person every single day. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have those things, that's why it's hard to mentor from afar. Virtual mentorship, it doesn't work. You have to see the person all the time and really impart on them, because you just don't know how much trauma somebody's dealing with or been through. And you have to be able to be there to pick up the phone at 2:00 in the morning, at any time, depending on what the person is dealing with and how invested you are in that. And for me, my dad wasn't around, but my Uncle Steve kind of picked up that mantle until my dad developed into the father that he is today, to be that voice, to be that person. And so as I got older and in the league and really was able to then kind of transition some of my intensity as far as balance, as far as not just all about football all the time, because I came more mature and more efficient in how I operate and being prepared. I started then when I would partner with an organization. So by the time I got to Buffalo, South Park High School and Tim Delaney was a group that I partnered with. And so I didn't just show up and just talk to the kids one time. I made it a habit of going over there multiple times, hanging out, showing up to games, coming to banquets, calling kids, taking them to enrichment programs. I took them to see Alvin Ailey, took them to go see Hamilton, right? And then one time, we rented a van. I took about 8 of them. We drove from Buffalo, New York, down to Virginia, to the DMV, and then went to a couple of colleges. You know, we went to Maryland, we went to Howard, and hung out for 3 or 4 days and just kind of kicked it and got to get them out of the environment of New York and Buffalo. And so I spent time. And so they understood that I wasn't this football player. I was their boy. I was that cool Lorenzo. This ain't no NFL player. Yep. And I try to mimic that same thing with the Bell Center in Buffalo as well. Show up so the kids know you. I'm not, there comes this end. No, this is Zoe. This is our friend. This is somebody I intimately know and can hang out with. And there's not like this shyness or shock and awe value, but they can walk up alongside of me and see me and get to know me and see all that I have to offer and all that I am. And this is a real dude, has some of the similar experiences, grew up where I came up, and this is how we excel. And it becomes more achievable, it becomes more real and fruitful versus this thing that's kind of far off in the distance. Like, man, I'm in the hood, my dad ain't around, my mama messed up, man. I got a younger brother I got to provide for, and I can't see myself going to college, right? I can't see it. And me showing up one time is not going to allow them to see it. So that's why you have to have that consistency as a mentor as you go back to really change that programming, because you have to first break all that down and tear that down and kind of almost build it back up from anew. And the only way you can do that is by consistently investing and speaking life into somebody and really helping them through that process.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's, the thing is what you just talked about. I've been working with teenagers, honestly, for the better part of 20 years. Yeah. And one of the things that I noticed is that, one, you have to be able to relate with them, right? And truly take the time to get to understand who they are.
Right.
And then when the biggest thing is that consistency and time. Because then what you did, before, when they first saw you, they looked at you and they're like, oh, this NFL football player, but you humanized yourself. Yeah. And see, once you humanize yourself, now they can really start to look and model, just like you modeled what you saw, right? You modeled the things that you saw that were really, that resonated with you. Once you've humanized yourself, now you look like somebody they can be.
Relatable.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And that's all I ever try to do, right? And just try to build that bridge, build those great relationships, because they're so fruitful and lifelong. And it really makes an impact. And so I've really made that shift. Early on, I need 500 kids at my camp. Actually, as I got better at doing the, I said, man, I really want about 70, 75. I can really invest in and get to know them, get all the kids, right? And so that same thing as I go out and do some even more intimate work, I'd rather work with 5 to 10 versus, try to go in 50 or 100. Just
smaller classes are always more effective.
You're not as effective. You're not able to do all of that at once and be effective.
Yeah, that's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the reason why this man was a 5-time Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. Because the thing is when you get that, because at first you're like, okay, let's have 1,000 kids. Okay, well, what kind of impact are you going to have on that 1,000 kids? Let's make it smaller and do it more often, right? And then as kids come in and out, we'll continue to help more. We may get to 1,000, but we ain't got to do it all at once.
Right. Exactly. And that's the point. Right. Yep.
That's where you have the major impact. That's when you have these kids now that talk about the time that Lorenzo Alexander spent with me. That was life-changing. You start changing lives and don't even realize you're changing because you get to be you.
Right. Yeah, and that's true. And I've actually had that happen a couple of times. I'm like, man, that's dope. It's just, it's so humbling that you're a part of somebody's shift or the way thought process that they thought or really help them. I actually had one of the ladies that was the director of the center that I helped. She was like, I remember you saying this, but I didn't even think he was coming back. I thought you were just talking. Like, nah, that ain't me. I'm coming back. And so we have a great relationship now, work with each other for like 2 or 3 years, maybe a little bit longer. It might be 4 years now. But it's just cool to how you impact people just by being yourself and it's true to who you are.
Yep. Hey, when you have quantity over quality, the product is more important than the process. You get what I'm saying? Or the purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with you. All right. People with the growth mindset already developed. Believe that their basic qualities and abilities are things that they can develop, but also confidence, especially in the face of adversity. You know, with you having a psychology background, enter fight or flight response.
Well, it all depends on what type of environment you're in. Sometimes you need to flee.
Yeah,
where I grew up at, it's time to get up out of here. See people running. I'm running too. Hey, but no, to your point of right, when you have like a real situation, whether it's game or you have this big assignment in class or you have this big project at work, the confidence is built in the preparation, right? As we talked about earlier, preparation meets opportunity. Right. The only way you're truly going to have confidence in accomplishing that test or playing in that game at a high level or nailing that presentation is if you've done your homework, have you prepared and done all the things necessary in order for you to go in there and operate. You know, some of the times that I was most kind of fearful or like, man, I might need to cheat on this test, right? Like I just started grad school, yeah. Right? And so we had to write a paper. And so in college, I forgot what class it was, but I hadn't studied. I went to the class and took notes, but I hadn't really studied for the test. And I was like, man, I'm gonna have to cheat so I can pass, so I could be eligible, right? That was my mindset. And I didn't study up until the night before. And so I was like, okay, we're gonna cheat. All right. So you had the blue books back in the day, right? That you go by. And so I'm like getting this sheet of paper that looks like it fits in the blue book so I can fit in there perfectly. And like I'm going through, I'm studying, cramming. Okay, I need to write this is going to probably be on the test, this. I get to the class and everything I had studied was, I didn't even need the sheet. Just throw that out, right? And so, I mean, it shows you that if you prepare for stuff, if you work for stuff, if you go through the process of developing whatever you are trying to accomplish, when you go in there, you're going to be confident because you know the work that you've put in. You're not going to have any second thoughts or some guesses because you've really thought it through. And even though in that process, I still say, and even in that example I give you, yes, I kind of inadvertently prepared myself, but I still missed out on the opportunity to really understand the process, right? And make it substantive to where it really sticks. You know, the information was kind of in and then out because I hadn't spent that time leading up to it. And so it was no longer a part of me. And then I also hadn't engaged my classmates in that process to help me and make me understand and maybe add to the community and maybe impact somebody else doing that process as well. And so as you go through the process to prepare, so whether it's, you know, I'll put in the football sense, you know, working out and training, you have teammates with you, you pushing them, you grinding, right? You out there watching film, you bring in other teammates with you. Let's watch this film together. You go out there to practice, you're going through some things. You may point something out to another guy that, hey man, maybe you should play it like this. Right. And so as you go through that process throughout the week, by the time you get to the game, I'm prepared, guys around me are prepared, and we're rarely collectively to go out here and accomplish things. And so I'm not only confident in myself, I'm confident in my team. And those teams are the ones that normally excel, do well, go to the playoffs. And that same type of format applies to, you know, you have a team of marketing people that are going to make this big pitch, right? So if you do that collectively together, everybody's equally pulling their weight. You're helping people out. Hey, what about this? Pushing and prodding on different ideas and perspectives. When y'all go into that meeting room, all you guys are confident that y'all about to nail this presentation and knock it out of the park. And because it's been a collaborative effort, and hopefully it's a diverse collaborative effort, the pitch is going to be way better than you going about it by yourself. And so even though you're preparing to be confident, normally pull a couple of people along with you doing that process. I think occurs organically.
Okay, so can that automatic cerebral response be controlled through growth mindset development?
Say that one more time.
Fight or flight. So it can be controlled. That cerebral response, automatic. You know,
of course, yeah. I mean, it's because you control it by your actions, right? Now you may have. Some people are just great BSers, you know, so they may not have done nothing at all. And they go in there, you don't know how, they don't really know how they're going to respond, but they just BS their way through it because they have to. And so I say you can, and then there's other people that prepare, right? But when the lights turn on, they come into a shell. And so A lot of it depends on who you are as a person. I think that does play into it naturally. But the more you prepare and understand and are aware of who you are, you can make those shifts, right? You can maybe if you are a naturally introverted person, you practice those skills because you know you're aware of where you're weak at, and you know whether you're in front of the mirror, in front of a group, you make the presentation in front of your friends, or right if you're in a group atmosphere, and I think this is why community is so important. Maybe that because that's not your strong suit. Somebody else makes a presentation because you're great at developing the ideas, and collectively you go through it together. And so I feel that you can control it, you can improve, but you have to be aware about who you are as a person, and then your actions have to lead to you being in a position of knowledge on that particular subject.
Your foundation. Can you tell us about your foundation, its name, and how people can go donate and see what you got going on?
It's called the Lorenzo Alexander ACES Foundation, and ACES stands for Accountability, Community Education, and Sports. And it was 4 pillars that I thought were very important in my life to help me be able to achieve, you know, going to college, having a family, having a great career. And so I think it's integral, especially coming from the inner city. A lot of kids can't afford to go to college. Maybe you have to go to JUCO route, that's great, but to be able to go to a D1 Cal, the #1 public university, the only way I was going to truly be able to pay for it and not have to worry about being a slave to debt the rest of my life was going to be about obtaining that scholarship. And so I was able to afford it that way. But the only way you can become, you know, eligible for that, you have to invest in your academic experience, right? Especially more so now than ever. You know, being a high quality student, because universities don't want to invest in risk. In most cases now, universities only can have so many kids that are considered as at-risk students even on their team.
Yep.
So you never want to, you know, my uncle used to always tell me this, and I tell my kids, you never want to be the reason why a door is closed, right? You want to do everything you possibly can to separate yourself and so that you can walk through any door that you want to. And I told my daughter this all the time. She used to say, Dad, but I got a B. And I have a daughter that's graduated from grad school at this point. Visited NAU. Okay. And it was a cool campus. She didn't really like it, but they had this program called the Presidential Scholarship. And if you had maintained, it was like a 3.7 or something like that. And I think she had like 2 B's. If she would have had A's instead of the B's, they would have paid for her school for 4 years just outright.
Hey, those presidential scholarships are better than athletic scholarships.
Yeah, I'm like,
I said, stipend and everything.
Right. Yeah. I said, here you go. I said, this is a door that you could have walked through if you have chosen it, but you closed it. You discredited yourself from it. Right. And so now Daddy got to pay for school, which I got it. But I could have bought you, we could have made a down payment on a house, maybe a new vehicle or whatever investment that you want to do. Right. And so, but you know, kids don't think like that, but that's why we're here as parents. So education is key, and just making sure I set them up in that way. You know, you always have to invest in your community, and you can start doing that now, right? You don't have to wait till you have a platform in the NFL. You have a platform right now to volunteer at your church, your school, at a local organization that's near and dear to your heart, you know, whatever it may be, something that's close to your family, you know, even helping your parents at the house with younger brothers and sisters. And then you have to be accountable. You know, you have to be true to who you are. You have to be a person of character. And that's obviously developed. And that's what I'm trying to help through the foundation, through different programming that we do, is to develop that in our kids so that they're well-rounded individuals. And at the end of the day, it's all about being able to sustain a family, right? Especially in our communities, having a mom and dad in the household and raising your kids collectively together. I think that's the best way, and from my perspective, to do it. And then be able to change that cycle that was afflicted upon, especially the Black community, with crack cocaine and all those other things that we know are true, that the government did to disenfranchise or break apart our families, right? So we have to be part of the cycle to recreate that, because we know it works, because we've seen it work, right? And so that's the ultimate goal. You know, it's not about being this millionaire, but being a character person that's able to support their family and give back to the community while doing that. And even if it's coaching, which is awesome because now you're impacting kids on a day-to-day level, volunteering, or if you do, have the means to donate money as well. Yep. And my website is lorenzoalexander.org. We're also on Instagram at ACES_foundation. Same thing for Twitter. And so, yeah, and those are ways people can get involved. If you're in Phoenix, if you're in Oakland or Buffalo, still some of the communities that we serve.
Yep. So this question is sponsored by Lorenzo Alexander and the ACES Foundation. All right?
Yeah.
It coincides perfectly with this question, especially with the university aspect. Name, image, likeness.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, on behalf of all of us that laid the foundation, please forward all reparations to my Cash App. Thank you.
Everybody's saying that, man. We need to go back, man. Y'all hurt me, man. And I don't even really care how much it is. I think I got maybe $400 or $500 for some class action lawsuit for like the video games.
Yeah, that's right.
I found. I don't care if it's $1,000. I need something. I need something for all that work we put in. That
I played with you too.
Was blocking.
I played NCAA with you. So what is your perspective on the ruling, and how do you think it will affect sports in general right now?
Yeah, I think it is. It's going to turn into more of what you see at the professional level. And so I'm actually a part of this group right now, our committee, I should say, at Cal, trying to make sure with this new ruling and new availability to student athletes to utilize their name, image, and likeness to earn money and to partner with different companies, is that it's done in the most responsible and strategic way as well, right? And so now that they have ownership as far as who they are, and the NC2A just can't sell it off or hoard it to themselves, there's also a process from a social aspect of making sure that it is done from a place of strength and knowledge and confidence, and not just going out there and partnering with somebody because they're going to offer you, $1,000, right? And there's a ton of companies that may want to do that with you and partner with you, but it doesn't really align with who you are, right? As a person and your identity and what you want to represent. And so it's hard enough for grown men, and that's even, I call a lot of the rookies that we have are grown men with boyish tendencies. Now you're going to ask an 18-year-old to kind of make these delineations, right, as far as who they should partner with and how they should operate when all this money's going to be put in front of them. So the first thing we need to do is making sure that we educate our young students, student athletes. I know some people don't agree with that term, but student athletes, that as far as helping them understand who they are, what do they represent, right? Do I want to partner with, marijuana is cool, right? But I'm not going to support it because I don't necessarily want somebody to go down that way, right? But you may want to do that. That may be cool. But if you just do it because they're giving you $1,000, I don't think that's cool. Who are you as a person? Help me identify who you are, who you want to be. And then from there, once I understand who I am, and we all know we don't know who we are at 18, so this is why I think it's going to be an issue, right?
I think we do know.
Yeah, right. This is going to be an issue. So who are you? And then I'm going to operate from there. Then you're also going to have the component of the agents coming in, right? Kids are going to be able to utilize sports agents as their marketing people. And so I know there's going to be some issues where an agent is out there some way advancing money with the aspect of a kid eventually going with them, especially if it's a high profile player. And then it comes back to the kids say, well, I'm not going to use you when I go to the NFL, and they're going to be upset.
Kind of like what they were doing 2 days ago.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But now they don't have to hide it as much because it's technically above board. So I think going to have more of that. So I've been trying to help Cal. And we have a great diverse group, people that are up there, people that are in the recruiting. We have our DIB director. We have a current student athlete. We have somebody in the deans, our athletic directors department on there. So just a good nucleus of people that see it from different aspects, legal department, but making sure that we set up a structure that we are going to empower our young men and young women to make well-informed decisions about who they decide to partner with as their representation, because ultimately that's an extension of who you are. and then also the type of deals that you're going to want to endure, because you never want to be in a position where, let's say Nike comes and says, and maybe you're the top prospect in the country, hey, we want to sign you to 150,000. We'll give you 150,000 cash, and all you got to do, we do this for, let's say we're going to do it for 10 years, right?
Yep.
And so that 150,000 is going to run over into your NFL career potentially. Yep. And so it's great. Ooh, money now. But we all know if you're that type of athlete, if you get drafted in the first round, or the type of money that you'll be able to win, it's going to be way different, right? It's going to be way different. So making sure that kids aren't taken advantage of as well. And then also start making kids think bigger than just the money, but also maybe getting some ownership and percentages in these companies, as we see some of the top tier athletes doing now, right? And so just not thinking about, oh, how can I get this dollar, but how can I get ownership that's going to maybe translate into generational wealth. And so just trying to create all these structural components. So we've partnered with our business school, our social welfare program, and then we also have something called the Cameron Institute, which is an entity that helps develop the student athlete as a person in holistically, and so that we can attack it from all these different angles, so we can minimize some of the things that occur. And then also, I think people have to realize everybody ain't gonna get deals, right? You know, it's gonna mimic the same thing you see in professional sports.
That's right.
And then the top 5 players will get something, and everybody else's stuff will be smaller. You know, maybe some digital media here and there, some cameo stuff. It's not going to be these big dollars that everybody, you know.
Let me get $35. Let me get $35. Well,
and one of the things that I want to be proponent of that is it used to be so easy to lose your amateur status, right? And so now you have these players, because they did something that didn't seem that harmless. I mean, it didn't seem that bad.
Yeah.
And they lost their amateur status. And so now they can't even play college sports anymore. Like, to me, that was so disheartening that it was so easy to lose your amateur status.
And that's great. It gives you cover. It prevents you from having, you know, another Reggie Bush issue or Ted Ginn, you know, where now your name, and you almost vilified when you do it. This is my jersey. I can't sell my own jersey. You know, I can't sell a ring if I want to sell it, right? You know, I can't. And you technically still can't even do some of that stuff. And so there's some nooks and crannies of it that can still disqualify. And so that's why it's so important that you educate and people just say, oh, name it.
But now it's not so easy to do.
Yeah, you know, that was not easy, right? You have some more freedom, but there's also some little caveats, and we always know the devil's in the details that you can
learn the rules.
So making sure that our young people understand that, especially at UC Berkeley's campus, so nobody falls into any of those pitfalls. But it's definitely a move forward. I think there needs to be a lot of education that goes along with it, and it still needs to kind of be pushed forward. Because
until this system begins to run efficiently,
right.
One thing for sure is that we will not see the next Lorenzo Alexander walking down the street on the campus in Berkeley at 90 degrees and seeing a billboard that says Lorenzo Alexander built Ford tough.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see. But I kind of lost my train of thought there. But
man, I have to get that.
But we have to continue to push forward. This is what I was going to say. We got to continue to push forward in the sense of, because they got NC2A games still and all this other stuff and sponsorships. There's a ton of sponsors, right, that give money for the siding of whether it's Gatorade or Coca-Cola or whatever company that's advertisement, right? In the player structure at the NFL level, we get to participate in that revenue. Mm-hmm. So the next thing, because that is tied to name, image, and likeness, right? Companies aren't doing that merely because we love your university. No, we're doing it because what those football players or those basketball players are doing on the court or on the field. And that's why we want our stuff out here, because they're bringing people to the stadium. And that's going to be the next real big push as far as being able to revenue share in that sense, especially on the conference level. Because I doubt you're ever going to get to a place where the SEC is going to share with the Pac-12. That's going to just be a non-starter. But at least within your conference, there should be some type of, we get a royalties check every year when I play from the Madden deal and then all of the other sponsorships.
Yeah.
And it, you know, and it was a sizable check, you know, 18 grand, like cool, you know. So for a high school or college student to be able to receive something similar to that
help their family
would be the next step, because that is technically name, image, and likeness. When we sign a GLA to allow the NFL and the PA to find sponsors to bring in, that's going to be the next step when they can collectively get a check. And then you won't have the disparity as much as the quarterback getting this and then the guy that's sitting on the back of the roster not making anything.
And I also believe that that women are going to benefit greatly for this. It's so many different, you know, products out there, you know, for women, and they can cross over to men products also. You know, we can't do that. You know, but I guarantee we won't be seeing weight rooms like we saw during the NCAA tournament. You know what I'm saying? Things are going to change, and they're going to.
I was out of pocket, you know, as a father of two daughters. Yeah, it's just crazy that they even had the gall to even think that was okay. That's what gets me. You know, okay, they corrected it.
Go ahead.
But just the gall to even think that was okay. I mean, there's a real underlying issue, and that's what we talk about when you talk about anything like institutional racism or prejudice or whatever. You can see they show it to you. It's like you have the gall to do that and think it was
to put it on TV.
Crazy.
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And then and the crazy part, some people will be like, "No, that doesn't happen."
Yeah. Whose idea was like, "Yeah, we're gonna put 3 over here,
right
over here."
right.
You know, one thing I will say is with all this going on, I'm gonna tell you who's really about to earn their money. The compliance officers.
Oh yeah,
man, they are about to have to earn.
Some people about to get some jobs too, because you're gonna need those resources.
Well, that department's about to double.
It has to grow, because the process of how, at least I have a general understanding how it works. You still have to submit whatever your deal is to the school for the approval of it, as long as it fits, you know, within the guidelines, right? Because like I said, I still don't think you can share like shoes and gear. So it's not like you say, hey, I'm gonna give this kid $1,000 for every home jersey, right, that he wants to give me. I still don't think you can do that. But like we had a local sandwich shop, like, hey, this dude is gonna do, or this young lady is gonna do a post every week to come to Sam's sandwich shop, and I'm gonna pay them, you know, whatever, $500 a post. Then that would be approved.
Yeah, that'd be great. You couldn't keep me from posting.
Right.
Yeah, definitely, man. Hey, Lorenzo, I really thank you for coming on, man. Sharing your knowledge and your wisdom, man. This interview was power-packed. I would love to have you back on again, brother.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Anytime, fellas. Really enjoyed it. And look forward to catching up with you guys soon.
Definitely.
All right, man. Hey, have a good one, man. We'll
definitely. Next time you see me, we'll have something.
All right.
Brother up here.
All right.
Proudly.
That's what's up.
Yeah, for sure. Next to Muhammad Ali. That's where you pick. All right, man. Take it easy.
All right, fellas.
Take care.
Well, Professor Haas, Lorenzo Alexander, like I say, man, he's a special individual. You know, everything he does is centered and directed towards helping, like I say, philanthropy, the betterment of the community, you know, of all men, you know, not just the inner city, you know, really getting down to the core of things and affecting them, you know, from that standpoint. I just thank him, man. I met him, and from the moment I began speaking to him, you know, I was directly impacted by his vibe. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, definitely. Just one of the brothers.
No, one of the things
I listen to.
One of the things about him is that he understands whose he is. And see, when you understand whose you are,
yeah, for sure,
everything else just falls, because that's what your main focus is. And he understands who he is. And that's the reason why he's been able to look at it and says, oh, yeah, well, yeah, we have the money to work with 500 kids. Mm-hmm. But can we really impact 500 kids? Exactly. Let's knock that down to 75, and let's find a way that we can do with smaller groups so that we can have a bigger impact and then serve more kids as time goes by. Because the thing is if you send 500 kids who look at you as just the pro, right? Just the pro. And I mean, you're not able to really impact their life other than the fact that I met Lorenzo Alexander.
That's right. Yeah, hey, and if someone does get the pleasure and the honor or the blessing of meeting Lorenzo Alexander, take advantage of it. But, my suggestion, make sure you give him depth, because his hands are like steel, and he's not squeezing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's my man. Yep. Excellent linebacker, excellent person. Well, hey, until next week, we'll see you later on Next Happy League.